Welcome to the Sacred Reclamation Podcast. Here we will be exploring how we can reclaim the sacredness of birth, life, death, and all the happenings in between. My name is Sydney Sands, and my intention with this podcast is to reclaim the art of storytelling. This is a space where we will practice allowing the simple act of telling our stories and listening to the stories of others to be medicine for our bodies and spirits. I invite you to keep an open mind and an open heart as you listen to these stories. Grab a cup of tea, maybe a little snack, and settle in for story time. Hello, beautiful angels, and welcome back to the Sacred Reclamation Podcast. I'm Sydney Sands, your host, and I am over the moon excited to be here. I've taken, a few months off from recording. As some of you may know, I'm living a little bit nomadically right now, so I've been kind of bouncing around, just being in places for a short amount of time, like maybe 3 or 4 months. And so we shifted in the time since I was last recording the podcast. So everything kind of gets tossed up in the air and then resettles, and the podcast just got put back on the back burner. But I'm really excited to be back and to do another solo episode. I guess we could call this season two, if you really needed to put a name on it. I don't know if this is really season two. It might just like be a continuous evolution, but we can call it season two. The last episode I put out was the beginning of April, and today that I'm recording is June 30th. Yeah, let's settle in with a little meditation. Why not? I could use it. I'm excited, but it's like the nervous excited. I have a few topics that I want to cover, but I don't have like a super specific planned out thing, so we're just gonna roll with it and see how it goes. I think it's gonna be fun. All right. Start to settle in here. Maybe start with eyes open and look around your space. Give your body some visual, maybe auditory, sensual cues that you're safe. I think in this modern world, sometimes our nervous system is just like overstimulated, and that signals danger to our bodies, but actually we're safe. Look around your space. You're listening to a podcast, so I would assume that means you're not in a dangerous situation. See that you're safe in your home. Maybe you're outside, wherever you are. Feel your body, maybe on a chair, wherever you're sitting, wherever your body is touching a surface or the earth, maybe your feet on the ground. See if you can tap into an energy of safety. And if you get to a point where you feel safe enough to close down your eyes and begin to deepen your breath, join me in doing so. Today, I want to explore the word trust. As you continue to breathe, begin to notice how that word feels in your body. Did you have any sort of physiological reaction just from hearing the word trust? Maybe you settle in Maybe you can breathe a little deeper. Maybe you start to breathe a little bit more shallow and you start to get hot or your heartbeat picks up a little bit. Just noticing, no judgment. What does the word trust mean to you? What does it feel like to trust? We don't have to go into this big story here. I just want you to sit with the energy of this word, of this action, of this way, and notice how it feels for you. Is there a place in your body that might feel good to place your hands? Is there a place that needs a little bit of awareness, energy, your breath, your attention? Can you breathe into that place? Is there a place in your body that could use a little bit more trust? Maybe it's your entire body. Maybe we could stand to practice trusting our body more. Maybe we need to open up some space for clear communication between ourselves and our body. Maybe just outside of our body in our energetic field. Maybe that space could use a little bit more trust or a lot more. So maybe you bring your hands outside of your body and just feel in that space. See if you can feel any kind of texture, any kind of energy. And when you find something there, if you find something there, maybe you hold that space there. And let's practice just breathing in this energy of trust because we've already established that we're safe in this moment. And so let's just play with it. Nothing too serious, it's playful. What would it look like if the act of trust was playful, the energy of trust was playful? Mm. If we weren't so serious about not trusting ourselves or life or other people or our environment, what if we just played around with it? And if that feels too stretchy, too silly, stay with where you're at today. Meet yourself with where you're at today and trust that you are exactly where you're meant to be. Trust that you are perfect as you are right now. Keeping with your breath. Let's all meet there in the place of trusting that we are exactly where we're meant to be and that we are perfect as we are right now. Hmm. Beautiful. And when you're ready, begin to open your eyes, come back to looking around your space, moving your neck around, your eyes around your body, looking behind you, above you, below you. Knowing that you can come back to this place of trust, this energy of trust, that knowing that is inside of all of us at all times, anytime you wish to, anytime you need to. Hmm. Oh, I miss that. I really love I really love starting with the meditation. Y'all have to let me know if you enjoy listening to them at the beginning of the podcast. I have a feeling that, some people are into it and some people probably aren't and just skip through it, or maybe it's depending on the day. I know for me, sometimes it's like, oh, this is exactly what I need. And then sometimes I'm a little bit more busybody and just kind of skip through to the content. But I guess I'll start with a life update since last time I put an episode out was the beginning of April, and I think that was recorded sometime in March. So what, it's been like 3 or 4 months since I have gotten on the microphone. I am currently in High Springs, Florida, staying at a family friend's house. They have 20 acres here, and it's such a beautiful property. We're surrounded by, not surrounded by water, but there's so much water around here. Fresh water, which is a different experience of Florida. I grew up, as some of you know, if you've listened to the first episode of the podcast, down in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is surrounded by water, but it's the Gulf and the bay, so salt water. And up here, there are crystal clear springs all over the place and freshwater rivers. And there's even like a crystal clear river up here, the Ichotugni River, which is really, really beautiful. So we've been doing some paddling on the river, and you can, paddle down the river on the paddleboard or kayak or canoe and stop at different springs and like go for a swim along the way. So that has been really, really such a treat, especially in the hot summer. It's been cool. I've been really enjoying this past, I don't know what, 9 months of living in a different part of Florida, more northern Florida, more old Florida. Um, Yeah, it's really beautiful here, and I just think that it's really allowed me to fall in love with Florida again. I don't know if I ever have fell in love with Florida because I just like moved here because this is where my parents chose to move. But yeah, as an adult, I just have such an appreciation. It's such a unique state, and of course, every state is unique, but Florida's very, very cool. It is being developed and has been being developed like crazy for many, many years. I don't have like the data, but I think like 1,000 people move to Florida every year. Maybe I should look that up. I'll check when I edit. A lot of people, or not every year, every day. I'm sorry. A lot of people are moving here. They are like destroying the wilderness and putting up apartments and condos and Walmarts and Costco's and parking lots and shopping mall plazas and yeah, doing a lot of that every day. And Florida is a relatively small state, I would say. And so there's only so much land here. And yeah, I would say where I am right now is kind of the last, not the last, but it's part of the last chunk of Florida that's not developed, and the developers are definitely creeping in up here. I've kind of clued into that from being up here the past few months and personally seeing it. And then also like I always join the local Facebook groups wherever I live, and a lot of people are in there talking about some new developers or like land for sale or developers approaching people to buy their land. And it is upsetting because like what are we going to do when we develop the whole earth? I know it's a bit of a stretch to go from Florida to the whole earth, but It's not that crazy. Not only do we need land and the resources it provides for things like food and water and shelter and quite literally everything. Everything that we have today has been provided by the earth, no matter how we have, transformed or messed with it to make it into something else. Everything came from the earth. Where else would it have come from? But also like our relationship to the land and the planet is really, really important. And there's nothing that we do to the planet that we don't do to ourselves. So, a lot of people talk about climate change and the weather's changing, the storms are getting worse. Summers are hotter, winters are colder, just weird weather things happening all the time. And then yeah, we see how sick our planet is, the animals that are extinct and endangered, and then we see how sick we are as a human species. The rates of disease are insane, especially in this country, in the US, and our gut health is horrible. We're killing the microorganisms in the soil. The soil health is horrible. Like, there's nothing that you do to the earth that you don't do to yourself. And even if you're not the one directly doing it, you're either not doing anything about it or you're putting your money into these industries that are destroying the planet. And yeah, it's almost just like a race to destroy ourselves. I truly don't understand it, and I think there are so many people who know and are practicing better ways of being in relationship with the planet and with the soil and with the earth and with ourselves and our bodies. And so we know that the solutions exist. And I would, I would bet and I would go out and say that I'm sure there's money to be made in doing things the right way. Like maybe not an exorbitant amount of money, but it's also like, why do we need this amount of money? So that we can go and colonize another planet. Anyway, that was such a rant. What am I supposed to be doing a life update? And I just start going on this doom. Well, I'll wrap it up by saying that I am hopeful because of the youth and the children. And I feel like I sound so old saying that, but yeah, some of you may know that I have a 12-year-old niece and she's just so smart and so spectacular and so loving and compassionate and really has a beautiful relationship with the natural world. And then just seeing videos of other kids online who are just like crazy smart or so loving, falling in love with nature again, seeing some of my friends who are raising their kids to garden and use herbal medicine and they're raising animals, chickens, dogs, whatever. And they're raising their kids with this love of nature. And I know I'm in my little niche of nature lovers. I quite love it over here in this little community. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and I think everyone should come over. Yeah, so that's my life update. We have built a garden. My niece is here spending the summer with us, so that's been really fun. Shane and I have been having a lot of fun hanging out with her. And she brings a lot of joy and just like, young life force energy, wisdom to the house. And we love that. We love having her here. Yeah, she makes our lives better in every way. I think she just makes us like happier and healthier. And also, like, we are just this little team, a trio of a team. And it's really fun to see the kinds of things we create, whether that is like discussions or projects like the garden that we've built. And yeah, that's been really special. I keep having these like overwhelming moments of gratitude for being able to spend my every day with my two favorite people on the planet. And yeah, just keep getting these moments of like, wow, this is so special. And this is like we're always going to remember this summer. It's always going to be like that summer we spent in High Springs when we paddled down the river and we built that garden and she's been baking sourdough and yeah, just all the fun things that we've been up to. I think I know we're making like core memories for her childhood and also just for our like young adulthood. It'll be like, yeah, that's like that summer before we had kids and life was slow and we spent it with Kennedy and we just all really we were all just we're so privileged. It's such an honor to be able to be in like deep presence with each other this summer. So it's been simple over here and that's the way that I love to live my life is simple and slow. And sometimes every now and then, less and less as I get older, but every now and then, the thoughts start to creep in of like, what am I doing with my life? Am I doing it wrong? Like, is this right? I need to hurry up and do stuff. But anytime those thoughts start to creep in, especially ones around like, I'm behind, I'm not doing enough, I need to hurry up. I need to catch up. I get an overwhelming amount of like signs and messages from whoever, my ancestors, source, God, the universe, telling me like, no, you don't. You're not behind. You're going at just the right pace. You're perfect. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And one message I've received recently is trust the seeds that you've planted. And that feels like such medicine to my soul. That really, really resonates with me. Trust the seeds that you've planted because we're always planting seeds. Like I am at least. I can speak for myself. I'm always planting seeds. I am always working on something. I'm such a growth oriented person. So I always have a goal I'm working towards. I love learning. I'm always learning. And for me, entrepreneurship has been such a journey. I'm just 1 year into entrepreneurship with Sacred Reclamation. We celebrated our 1 year anniversary on June 6th, just a few weeks ago. And that was a really, really a moment of pride. And I got to look back on like how proud I was when I first started this a year ago the online plant shop. For those of you that don't know, I make and sell medicine online at sacredreclamation.com. So you can check it out there. Every episode of this podcast is sponsored by the Sacred Reclamation plant medicine shop. So go on there, check it out. Right now I've got tinctures. I have a couple mushroom triple extracts and putting on an oxymel that my niece Kennedy made. That should be going live on the site this week. So whenever this podcast comes out, it will be up on there. She's 12 years old. She is a young, budding, beautiful herbalist. And then oxymel is an extract that is made with apple cider vinegar and honey. So it's alcohol free. It's a great alternative for those who don't want to take alcohol, which is what a tincture is. It's extracted with alcohol. And the apple cider vinegar also really extracts vitamins and minerals really well. So it has a little bit of a higher vitamin and mineral content, which we all need because there's no vitamins and minerals left in the soil. There are some. There are some. It's okay. But we all could use a boost in modern day because we don't tend to, modern agriculture doesn't tend to put back what we've taken. So we need a boost in vitamins and minerals. Anyway, where was I going with that? Trust the seeds that you've planted. Yeah. So, yeah, this all actually ties in together, which is great because sometimes I feel like I'm rambling, but in living this slow, simple life and in entrepreneurship and to be I want to have the slow, simple mentality woven into my business. I think that's so important for me to have a sustainable business, sustainable for myself and for the planet. I love the idea of moving at the pace of nature And nature is quite slow, rhythmic, seasonal. And then of course it does have its speed. Like what's that quote? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So trust the seeds that you planted. So planting is planting a literal seed in the soil. If you've never done it, what are you doing? Just do it. Go buy a pack of seeds from wherever you get stuff. Order it on Amazon if you must. Stick it in some dirt. If you're impatient and you want it to happen quick, you can go for radishes. Those sprout rather quickly. Sunflowers are great and really fun. But it's like it's so exciting. You put them in the soil and it's so exciting. You water them and then you wait. And then if you're me, you like go out the next day and you like, even though you know they're not going to have sprouted yet, you go check and nothing sprouted. And then it's just like waiting, waiting, waiting. And then it sprouts and it's so exciting. And it's like, yay, happy birthday celebration. And yeah, so then if you're doing a sunflower, then it's like, it's gonna be almost like 2 months before you're getting a flower. And you're watching it grow and it's so exciting, but it's like this year I actually had an experience with sunflowers where I'd started a bunch when it was still a little bit cold out and didn't have great germination. And then they were the ones that did germinate, they were in the seed tray for a while. I was gonna plant them over at Steenhatchee, and then it was just like not the right timing. So I brought them over here with me to High Springs, and then they were sitting in the seed tray, and I was just like over it at this point. And I really didn't want to plant them. And I actually took a video of me planting them. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I feel like there's so many metaphors in gardening, which is another reason why I love it because there's so much wisdom woven into the process that really translate over into living life. And so yeah, I didn't really want to plant them, but I wasn't just gonna leave them in the seed tray and let them die. That's sad and depressing. And it really wasn't that big a deal to plant them. I just had to prepare a space, so I had to like, rip up the weeds and the grass so that I had an area to plant them. But I did. And then we went camping. We went out of town for like almost 2 weeks, and I was just hoping for the best for them. I hoped that they would just get rained on and they would make it. So these things really struggled. They didn't get the love and care that they deserved. I'm so sorry. But you know what? Now it's June 30th and they have been flowering for probably 4 weeks. And they're so freaking beautiful. I think that the wrong seeds were in the package that I got because they don't look anything like the seeds on the package. I had bought Tiger Eye and the Big Mammoth. And my Big Mammoths weren't that Big Mammoth because they were a little bit neglected, but they're still beautiful and I had a couple that grew really tall, like twice of me. There's still one that's about to bloom. But the tiger's eye just like surprised me with blooming with this deep burgundy color. And then as the days pass on, they lighten up to like if you love fall, if you're like a pumpkin spice girly, like you will love these sunflowers. They just like lighten up to that beautiful like autumn orange, red, yellow, and they kind of lighten up and fade out over time and it's just so beautiful. And I just think like if I would have just let those die, then I never would have got to like see this beauty and the bees have been loving them and I'm getting lost in the romantic fantasy of growing sunflowers and planting seeds. But to tie it back into what I was talking about, trust the seeds that you've planted. Like when you plant a seed, if you have issues with trust, I would say take up gardening and start things from seed because you'll have your moments of mistrust or distrust when you're like, I don't think anything's gonna happen. And sometimes nothing is gonna happen. Like, not every single seed is going to germinate, and what a blessing that is. Am I right? If you know what I mean. Not every single seed is gonna germinate, but most of the time, when you keep the soil moist and you care for that, give it the tender love and care that it deserves, your seed is going to sprout and the plant is going to grow. And yeah, you might have those moments of like, I don't think it's going to sprout, I don't think it's going to happen, but you just keep waiting and you keep tending and you keep trusting, and then one day your reward arrives and it's even more beautiful than you were expecting. It completely takes you aback by how beautiful that it is. And then you thank yourself, and then you get this feeling of gratitude for your past self of like, thank you so much for planting those seeds. I know you didn't want to. I know you just wanted to leave them there to die when you were in a bad mood, but thank you so much for, putting on your boots and getting in the dirt and just doing it. And I think that happens a lot in life. Like in the journey of entrepreneurship, it is slow. For me, it's been slow. I know, I guess there are people that have like, instant success. And I also think that, I'm very new to this and I never studied business or anything. So I'm literally just like learning as I go. Like I genuinely don't know what I'm doing. And, but that's honestly part of the reason why I love it because it brings me so much pride. Like when I figure something out or like every time I make a sale, I feel so proud of myself. And to have had an idea or just this like calling inside of me and then to build something and create it and to like to have a physical product in the world and to have designed this company and the aesthetic of it and the energy of it and to design the labels and to make the medicine and to fill the bottles with the medicine and then to have someone, read the description that I wrote that describes like my relationship with this plant and what I believe this plant does for us. And then have someone resonate with that enough to spend their money on it and then being able to ship that out to them and like, know that they received it is really, really beautiful. I used to like never think that I was a creative person. I grew up thinking that I wasn't creative. And so to have tapped into my creativity now in my late 20s has been really such a gift for me. And like, I now fully claim the title of artist. Like, I'm an artist, everyone is an artist. And I think it's so important for us to reclaim our creativity and our artistry, no matter what it is, because we really overconsume nowadays, and overconsumption without creation leads to depression and anxiety and feelings of like not good enough or unworthiness. And so if you're struggling with any of that, try to create something. And whatever that means for you, maybe you make a meal, maybe you write a song or you make music or you make an Instagram post. Like it doesn't have to be something crazy. Maybe you write a poem, maybe you just sing, maybe you dance, move your body. Like there's so many ways to create. And maybe you build something, maybe you fix something, you paint something, you reorganize your house, your room, like just do something. And I think doing things builds confidence and builds a sense of worthiness. I believe that we're all innately, inherently worthy just by the fact that we're alive and we're here. But I do also know that it's quite human to struggle with a sense of worthiness or maybe like purposelessness. And I think that creating something, uh, because even though if you think that what you created is silly and stupid and it doesn't matter, like if you share that, if you can also get to the next level where you share that with someone and you allow someone to witness you and what you've created, you never know how important that's going to be for someone. Like, think about something that you have read or a song you've listened to or a piece of art that you love that was so moving or like, yeah, think about just something that you've seen or heard or tasted or smelled and it just like brought you, it moved you in some way. Maybe it brought you joy. Maybe you just felt like you weren't alone by reading something or listening to someone's story. You realize like, oh, there is actually nothing wrong with me. I am not alone in this experience. This is just a human experience, and that like saves you, or you're feeling down and then you read something and it like gives you hope and you get the energy to get up and like go do something. Or you just get this feeling of gratitude. Like creation is so important because one, it's just the energy of creating. We have to keep the flow of energy going. So when we consume, like imagine if you ate and ate and ate and ate and you never pooped. Like that would not end well. So like we have to be putting something out. Energy's coming in. We need to release the energy to keep the flow going. Am I still on my life updates? I guess I could keep on the track of entrepreneurship. 1 year of entrepreneurship and this isn't I don't think this was planned, but this also aligns with 1 year of being mostly sober, not 100% sober, which I also feel like that's something important to talk about. I will like briefly tell the story. Back at the end of April of last year, I decided to just stop drinking for a little while. It just like wasn't making me feel good. I've been a big drinker since I was like 15 years old till I met Shane, which was when I was 22. And Shane was never a big drinker. He's more into psychedelics. And so, we kind of met when we were both in our party era. So we still like, I was still drinking when I first got with him. But then I would say, like, after a year or so of being with him, maybe two, my drinking really slowed down. And then it just has like progressively slowed down since then. I think that that is such a blessing. Shane has, blessed me in so many ways, but to lose interest in drinking is really a beautiful influence to have over someone who used to drink like almost daily, at least, one or two beers or glasses of wine at the end of the day. So yeah, I was just like starting to notice that I wasn't really loving it. I was kind of enjoying being sober more than when I would have a drink. And then yeah, the last year when it was like when I decided to stop drinking, I had gone to dinner with my brother and one of his friends, and I just had one beer, like one beer out to dinner. And the next day I just felt so down and anxious and just not good. So then I was like, okay, if one beer is even affecting me this much, let me just take a break. And it felt kind of fun because it was like, let me just see what it's like to not drink because I've never done that before. So I did that and yeah, it was fine. I was really enjoying being sober. I was still smoking weed a little bit at that point, and the only time when I ever really got a craving for a drink was when I was around my brother and like he would have a beer. Like there's a grocery store up there in Boone where it's called Lowe's and they have a bar at the grocery store and like you can't go anywhere with Dane with like he has a beer and like no shade to him. He's not an alcoholic or anything. He's just living his life as a young man in his 20s who loves a beer. And, like, I'm at the grocery store with him and he gets a beer from the bar while we're just grabbing a few things. And I'm like, man, a beer sounds so good. Or going over to his house for dinner or him coming over. And I'm just like, dang, a beer would be really good right now. Yeah, I didn't really have a real goal. I was just curious and I was enjoying. Yeah, I just felt better sober than when I did with a little buzz, which was so new for me. I feel like for a lot of years, like I felt so uncomfortable in my own skin that I needed a drink to kind of like feel more myself. I'm doing quotes if you're just listening to this. And so I felt that it was really like monumental for me to make that choice. I come from like a long line of alcoholics, I would say, on both sides of the family. Not necessarily like directly everyone in the family, but definitely alcohol abuse on both sides of the family. And yeah, I had a when I came home last year, I think in October for a funeral. Got together with a bunch of friends and like the not drinking was kind of starting to eat at me. Like I didn't know. I wasn't sure if I was gonna not drink or not. I hadn't really decided. And yeah, we went to this funeral and then there was like, the reception or whatever it's called after at this restaurant where everybody's drinking. It's basically like cocktail hour. And I was literally so consumed the whole time of like, am I gonna have a drink? Am I not gonna have a drink? That I wasn't even present at all. And I really didn't like that. And then we all got together at like a family friend's house after, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna sit here all night and like not even talk to anyone or like be listening to what anyone's saying because the alcohol has control over my brain, which is so crazy that it has that strong of a grasp on me even when I hadn't drinking for like 6 months at that point. But I decided to have, yeah, I had a few beers. I think I had like half a shot of tequila. I think I had like th 2 or 3 beers and half a shot of tequila, and like the tequila was horrible. Um, anyway, long story long. I felt okay with that. Like I felt good with my decision to drink because it was like I just had to see what it would be like. And I felt like shit. And so whatever, that was that. And then I was kind of like, okay, I went back to not drinking, which was awesome and fine and it was great like it had been. And I just decided that I wasn't going to really put strict rules on it. Like I wasn't going to say because I didn't want to set myself up for like disappointment, but also I wasn't quite sure. I really wanted it to be authentic to me and what I wanted. And for me, it's not, I don't want to say that I can never have a drink again. I don't want to put myself in that kind of like strict, tight box. Um, I just want to be free, honestly, to make my own decisions and like make my own rules and guidelines as I go through life and what feels good and what doesn't. And like that's changing moment to moment. And so that's what I decided to do. And I just kind of kept being like, okay. And then yeah, I went to Reggae Rise Up Music Festival in St. Pete in March and I had a couple drinks and it was fine. Like I had a really good time. I was like crazy hungover the next day. Just because not necessarily from drinking or smoking. Yeah, I've been like slowly tapering off of weed over this past year too. And just because I felt better sober. And yeah, had a couple drinks and smoked a little bit at the festival and had a great time. And I think the hangover was more to do with like being around so many people and so many people who are like drinking and smoking and doing whatever other drugs. That really has an effect on my energy field. I think another reason that I have discovered like why I don't want to drink is because I'm a healer and I work with energy and I've really been wanting to clear up my energy field this year and like be attuned to my energy field and the power that I have to heal myself and to heal others and read energy and work with energy and um yeah, being mixing in substances with that can like I think make the energy messy and clouds makes it cloudy. And yeah, so I feel like I was really in the beginning of that, I was really like I wasn't seeing a lot of no's to not drinking. And I remember my dad even asking me like, "Oh, you haven't drank in a while, like what benefits have you seen? And I don't know, I had this weird, like, kind of annoyed response, like annoyed with the fact that I wasn't drinking, even though it was such a personal choice. And I remember being like, nothing really, like, I guess I sleep better. So I would say if you're someone who is sober curious or going on that path and you're not seeing that many benefits in the beginning, it definitely compounds over time. And I think that some of the benefits can be really subtle, but I think about how my 1 year of entrepreneurship and 1 year of being mostly sober lines up, and that makes so much sense. Like, I finally had the courage and the energy and the drive to start a business, like to actually do what I've been wanting to do for so long. Um, yeah, a little over a year, maybe like 14 months sober, and I feel so healthy. Like, I feel the most healthy that I've ever been. I have so much more energy. Like, I don't even know if I've ever had this much energy in life, like as an adult. Yeah, I have no memory of having this much energy. I feel so happy and vibrant, alive. I have so much energy that I'm like learning how to manage this energy, like how to use it and how to work with it. And I've started strength training, which is so crazy if you know me. Like, I've held on to this story of like being lazy for a long time, and I'm not lazy. Maybe I was just drunk. But yeah, I attribute it to not drinking, not smoking, working with herbs, working with reishi. I think that has really, really upped my vitality and my life force. And then I think that all the things that I've done, like, it just like you just pick up so many other good habits, healthy habits when you don't drink, because then you like kind of go to bed earlier, you wake up earlier, you just get better rest, you feel more rested, you probably make better food choices. Yeah, you have more energy, you have just more clarity of mind. I'm much more connected to my dreams and my waking and my sleeping dreams. And I have the energy and the clarity to like bring things to life. So it's been a really, really special journey, and I'm gonna keep going. Now I'm comfortable. I think I've been to enough social events, but at first it was really uncomfortable to go to social events and not have a drink to rely on. And I can be kind of a quiet person, especially in group settings. And I've kind of just had to, it's not like I bloomed into this like super social person. Um, I actually have just had to endure being quiet and awkward and like, okay, am I just gonna sit here and be quiet and awkward, or am I gonna think up like some way to start a conversation? Because because it's not, my solution isn't gonna be having a couple drinks and then feeling loose and lightening up and being more comfortable with having like stupid surface level conversations. So yeah, I also, I would say, I said being healthy and happy and vibrant and alive, and also just like I feel so in love with myself. And that feels like kind of weird to say, like, I don't know. But I feel so good about it. Like, I feel proud of how much I love myself and how much I like love life right now. And I don't know that I even noticed how much I didn't love myself or how much I didn't. I think I suspected it. But hindsight is 2020, right? But now like just this feeling in my body of like, wow, I'm like so proud of myself and I just like love you. Like, I look in the mirror and I'm just like, I love you. I love what you're doing. I love how you're living. I love where you're going. I love where you've been. Like, yes, like you go, girl. I've become my own hype woman. And I have been I have been in the past someone who before I really found what I wanted to do and what I was into, I was always hyping up someone else for what they were doing. And not that that's a bad thing at all, but it was like I always wanted to get involved in what someone else was doing and was like, oh, I bet I could help make this better. Or I always wanted to like, um, I used to have this idea of having this collective of artists and connecting them all together and like getting out the word that they were artists, almost like doing marketing and stuff for them. And um I think that's awesome and that would still be cool, but it was because I didn't have anything. So I was like, okay, what are other people up to? Like, let me get in on that, or just hyping people up for everything they're doing. It's like putting so much energy into other people and never putting any energy into self-discovery or yeah, creating something for myself. So that's been a big shift and that's been really, really fun. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about was my journey of unlearning and then relearning. I would say I started on this journey. I think getting into birth work is what put me on the journey of unlearning. I think. Yeah, yeah. I used to live in St. Pete, Florida. That's where I grew up. Lived there my whole life as a kid from 6 to 26, 20 years lived there. And yeah, Shane and I left St. Pete 2 years ago to just go off on this journey into the world and find where we land and travel and be young and have fun and live a slow life and, you know, live life and just do whatever we want before we kind of settle down and start a family and a farm and careers and really sink into that life. But my point is that I did a lot of unlearning. Like I really dropped everything. I think once I started learning about birth and then I went and did the hospital birth mentorship. So I shadowed a doula for a hospital birth and that really rocked my world. And then after that, like it just was very unsettling and so wrong, felt so wrong in my body. After that, discovering Free Birth Society and that whole world of birth outside of the medical system. And I was already like, I guess you could say I've been like a little bit hippie, um, already just from, I guess, the music festival scene and psychedelics and questioning, and I've always been a learner and cu so curious and so hungry for knowledge and also I definitely have a question authority thing going on. But yeah, once I started learning about like the option of birth outside the medical system, birthing just the way women have been birthing for forever, besides the last like 200 years, that really broke me into like, okay, question everything. And so then I kind of stopped doing everything that I was taught. Um, Even from little things like I did a little experiment about like brushing teeth or using toothpaste. Like, do we really need to brush our teeth? And yeah, I do at least. I do need to brush my teeth. Toothpaste, I'm still not really sure about. I think that maybe we don't get enough minerals in our diet so that like I use a mineral toothpaste and I think that that's really good to help remineralize my teeth. Also just the fact that we eat so much sugar in our modern day. I don't eat a ton of sugar, but I probably eat enough in my diet that I um need to at least brush my teeth, I would say. And it just feels good to brush your teeth. Anyway, so yeah, that was like I mean I stopped doing everything because the way that the modern world does things and the way that we live is just so anti-life, like anti-health. And I guess I could just like list off a few things that I stopped that are normal. I mean, I cleared out my house of like all chemicals. I stopped using all chemicals because most house cleaning products and body products are endocrine disruptors, and I was having health issues with my cycle and my hormones myself. So that's just Started like phasing out all of that stuff. Stopped, yeah, I'd said the teeth thing already. No mouthwash, changing my toothpaste or doing stints of no toothpaste. Um, Stopped washing my hair, stopped using shampoo and conditioner, which I've stuck with that. I don't use shampoo or conditioner anymore. I don't use lotion. I really try to limit any kind of extra chemicals putting on my body, in my body, or around my body. I don't know what else. I guess I sold my car, which was not really an unlearning thing, but I've also kind of been loving not having a car. And for the life I've been living the past couple years, don't need it. We moved out of our house. We haven't we haven't really we've lived in different houses, but we haven't like signed a lease to live somewhere. Um, in almost 2 years. I stopped working like regular jobs. I've been on this journey of entrepreneurship, and just to be completely transparent, I also have received an inheritance when my mom passed away that supports me. I don't want to act like I make enough money from my businesses and my entrepreneurial pursuits to sustain myself. Yeah, so stopped working. And yeah, I guess a lot of this was about like just questioning, but a lot of it was also because of health problems that I was having that wasn't like lining up for my life. The health issues that I was experiencing with my cycle, like it didn't really work for me to have a regular job where someone is depending on you to show up. And if you're having health problems where you need to put like to have to decide between your own health and your job is so messed up on so many levels. I understand why like even if you don't feel well, sometimes you just have to pop some pills and go to work because people are depending on you to be there. But that just like wasn't working for me. So I basically just stopped doing everything that wasn't working for me and some things that even were working for me, but I just wanted to question them. And yeah, it's been kind of cool the past couple of years because now I'm kind of coming back around, and obviously I've gotten older and I've been doing all this experimenting the past couple of years, and now I'm like picking things back up. Like the toothbrushing thing, brushing my teeth, like I'm even consider I'm even considering going to the dentist for a cleaning. I haven't been to the dentist for a cleaning in a long time. I have this book. It's called It's All in Your Mouth. I think that's what it's called. And there's a lot of things I don't agree with around conventional dentistry, but I have come back around to like a yearly or twice yearly cleaning is good. Skip the fluoride, maybe bring my own toothpaste, but it's good to get your teeth clean. Hello, sweet friends. This is Editing Sid from the future here. I decided to cut out a few minutes of this chunk of the podcast. I like to keep these as raw and unedited and unfiltered as possible, but I'm actually going to record an entire episode talking about my journey of unlearning and relearning, and I just want to sit down and kind of gather my thoughts and experience on the topic and organize it in a more easy to understand and more deliverable way. I feel like the rambling got a little bit too cringy for me here, and I also just missed a lot of points that I would love to touch on. So I need to sit down and make some notes and then make another episode dedicated to going over this whole topic because I find that this journey was really, really impactful for me and in my becoming and unbecoming of who I am today. And so I do want to talk with y'all about that. And so I did cut out a little chunk, and I was even considering cutting out the next part of the podcast, but because I thought that maybe there was a better way that I could say it, and I felt pretty nervous to talk about what I'm going to talk about next that you'll hear in just a moment here, but I decided to keep it. I think I spoke on it well enough, and maybe it'll be something that I continue to speak on in the future, but I'm just going to leave it. It can't be too much of a perfectionist, and I think it needs to be said. It feels like it needs to come through. So I hope y'all are enjoying this far. We're almost to the end. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the episode. Thanks so much for being here. I guess one other thing I want to touch on is something that I've been thinking about this year for a while. And it's kind of this notion or this idea of how a lot of us common people are really doing the work of the oppressors. Like modern day oppressors don't even really have to do much. And I know oppressor can be a strong word, and especially as a 29-year-old American woman, I have a lot of rights and privileges that a lot of other women and people in the world do not have. So I want to just like preface this with saying that. But I guess where I'm coming from with this is specifically to the things that we post on social media and the conversations that we choose to have in our lives. And I feel like this feels like such a touchy subject. And I've been thinking about this all this year. I also want to say that. So like this isn't really about the recent things that have been going on. It's June 2025, the end of June. So just bear with me because I'm going to say it because I think it's worth saying, even though it could possibly sound like kind of bad. But I want to talk about the things that like we repost on social media, and especially when it's like these horrible things that are happening in the news. Like a lot of us in my generation, millennials and like Gen Z people, like I don't think the what how the news used to be, or I guess it still is, the boomer news. I don't see that really carrying forward, but like social media has kind of become like the new news. So like for me, I'm someone who I don't watch the news. I consciously choose not to watch the news. Then watching the news is like cancer. It's like watching cancer. Like there's barely anything good that comes out of watching that. Turning on the morning news as soon as you wake up when your cortisol levels are already naturally high, and then you add the news on top of that and you're skipping breakfast, like you're setting yourself up for cortisol to be stressed out and feel like shit all day. And you're starting your day like that every day if that's how you start your day. Just saying. Anyways, back to what I was originally talking about. I'm kind of passionate about not watching the news. And Dad, if you're listening to this, I'm never gonna watch the news. I know you think it's just me being young and spirited, but I'm never gonna watch the news. It's a conscious awareness choice for my health and well-being, and I wish you would join me. But what I was saying, so just for an example. There's a war going on in the world, and people, videos get out around innocent people being bombed. And then someone posts this on their story on Instagram as an attempt to spread awareness. Um, someone else, whoever watches your story sees it and feels horrible about it, and then feels like the thing that they can do is share it to spread awareness. But my question is, what is the point of that? What is sharing this post on your story about this war in somewhere far away that you've never been and will probably never go? Sharing it on your Instagram story when you're just like a regular Joe Bob girl or guy. Like what is the point of it? What is the outcome? What is that going to create in the world? To me, it's just creating you're just spreading out like your stress and your anxiety and your bad feeling about it, because you posting it on your story isn't doing anything for any of those innocent people who are being bombed. And who are wrongly being bombed and harmed, but like you posting it on your Instagram story for all your friends to see and feel like shit about is not helping those people. And my theory is that it's like just a way of the bigger powers that be to like keep us in this cycle of feeling like shit and feeling bad and feeling helpless and being stressed and having a bad look on what on the world and not having enough energy to do anything to make our lives or the world a better place. And they're doing this all like without even having to do anything because we're doing it for them. Like I can take responsibility and say that I have been a person who has done this in the past. Like, and I even got caught up in that stupid bullshit notion of like, if you're not posting about it, then you're a bad person. But it's like, that just doesn't add up. Like, we were never, first of all, we were never meant to, we're not really wired to know what's happening across the world, much less know like the horrors of what's happening across the world. We're kind of wired to be where we are in our small family or community or whatever. And like, there's enough bad shit happening right here. Like, I don't know about you guys, but there's enough fucked up shit happening in my own family, in my own, like, in my friend group, in my community of extended people that I don't know. And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, like, I'm not promoting ignorance and saying that, like, we should just turn a blind eye to these things, but I guess my point is that, like, I think there should be more awareness and intention when sharing things on social media. And I think there should be, for me, I really want to, like, be clear on why am I sharing this? Like, I don't want to contribute. I don't want to keep contributing to negativity. I want to put out positivity and healing and medicine into the world because that's what the world needs. Like, if you're not posting something inspiring or educational in a positive way or something funny on social media, it's an unfollow for me. Like, I've been cleaning out my social media because I've been like I've like what we consume. It's not just about food, it is about media and like the negativity. Like if you're just like Ashley from St. Pete, like there's nothing that you can do and there's no one that follows you that can do something unless your aunt works for the government really high up or something and she's gonna see that and she wasn't aware of it. Like, I don't know, there's really no scenario I can think of where a regular gal or guy sharing that on their story is going to lead to positivity. I think it just makes people feel like shit. And a lot of people already feel like shit without having to see children dying across the world and knowing there's nothing they can do. Maybe they can donate to some nonprofit, which you have no clue most of the time if your money's even going to actually helping those people, if it's just some asshole scamming people. Yeah, that's something I've really been sitting with lately. And I've had a couple conversations about it with friends. It also feels like kind of touchy to talk about. But I just want to encourage you to bring more intention and awareness and consciousness into your life and really think about what building blocks you're using to build your life because you're always building, you're always manifesting, you're always creating whether you know it or not. You're at least creating your reality and your life and your thoughts and your emotions and your energy. And if you just keep moving through life as if that's not the case, you're gonna wake up one day and really hate your life and be upset with how quickly life passed you by and you were just waiting to start life and waiting to start going after your goals or waiting to create a life that you could be really proud of. Yeah, what you put out, you get back tenfold. And so remember that. And I encourage you to put out more positivity and more love and more compassion, more understanding. Maybe move a little slower. Maybe simplify something. Spend more time with loved ones. Dream a little more. Wonder a little more. Dance a little more. Sing a little more. Live a little more. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm gonna leave y'all with. Who knows if this will ever get out to the world. I guess we'll see when I go and listen back to it, but even if it does or if it doesn't, it was cool to sit down and just talk to the microphone, talk to myself for a little bit here. And I'm looking forward to another season of the podcast. I have a really cool list of mostly women to come on the podcast and share their stories this season. Last season we had several birth stories, I feel like. And this season I'm hoping to get in more variety. You want to talk about death a little bit, talk about grief a little bit. Of course, we'll talk about birth and just talk about life and remember that your life is sacred. Yeah, your life is sacred and you're worthy. The universe didn't need you, you wouldn't be here. You're here for a reason. You're perfect as you are. I love you. Endless blessings and gratitude to you.